Today's lesson is on restoration, and if you look at this image, this used to be a black and white image, and notice there's a tear across the bottom third of the image right here. So we're going to fix the tear, and we're also going to fix the little cracks and crevices that are also on the image the best we can. We will crop it as well, because when it was scanned, notice down here there's no image. And then the yellow spots, because this used to be a black and white. So we'll make those corrections as well, and I will walk you through this process. Okay, so let's zoom in on the area that we're going to make where it's been ripped. And so I'm going to zoom into this little area here. I'm going to go to my quick selection tool right here and just highlight the area that is missing, this white area. And it might select too much of it. That's okay. We'll use the Alt key to deselect. So I'm holding the Alt key down and deselecting this area in here. And it's pretty intuitive. It'll snap to the white area that has been ripped and is missing. So I will work my way through here, come over here, and as I'm moving, I'm zoomed in quite a bit. As I'm moving through here and holding again the Alt key down to deselect. And if I hold my Shift key down and drag, I can easily move within my image. I'm going to go down here, again, deselect by holding the Alt key down, and it snaps to this. So I'm going to go ahead and select the rest of this offline. Okay, so I've made my selection. Let me zoom out here. Control 0 zooms out to full screen, and I have my selection. I am now going to just simply move that selection up by using my arrow key. I'm going to tap my arrow key into an area that does have part of the image, and notice right in here I'll zoom in. I just moved it up slightly. What I'll do now is I'm going to copy the area that's selected. Remember, anything that's inside the dancing ants will be copied if I go Control J and I create a layer. I'm going to come over here to my toolbox and use the Move tool. Click on this, and I'm going to move this layer. It's hard to see right here, but we're going to move that down. I'm going to use my arrow keys to simply move it down, and look at that. It's making a pretty good selection. I'll zoom out, Control 0, zooms out. I might have to do this again. I'll go Control J, move down the selection just a little more, and there you have it. So it's a pretty darn good job of making the correction. The next thing I want to do is take the yellows out of the image, because again this was a black and white, and I need to pick the layer that I want to change, which is this one right here. So I'll highlight that but I'm going to go ahead and do that. Flatten the image. Control Shift E will flatten the image. And now I'm going to come into the hue saturation. I'm going to go over to the master right here. These are the colors. I'm going to choose the yellows because I have quite a bit of yellow in here. And I'm going to desaturate this all the way, and it takes the yellow out. But notice it also leaves now brown or dark spots in the image. If I go to the lightness slider and I slide it this direction, notice the spots are removed for the most part. We're going to have to go in and touch up a little bit, but that took me all of 5 seconds, 10 seconds to do. And right in here I'll have to work on right in here, and then I'm also going to have to bring some of it back, and I'll show you how to do that as well. So let's zoom into the area that I need to make corrections on, that I know I do, and I'll zoom into this area right in here, and I want to change this to pure white. If I come over here to the clone stamp tool, hold my Alt key down, select this area right in here, and just simply click and make sure that I'm on the layer. Click right in there, and it'll start to make that change right in here. I'm just clicking, and again I need a sample every once in a while, and I'm going to zoom out. There are other areas that I could touch up right in here. I'll zoom into this area, I'll touch this up, Alt, sample, and then click right in there. Alt sample and click right in here and just touch it up. Maybe right in here. And you could spend a lot of time making sure that this was perfect. Now we're going to take out some of the crevices that have occurred over time, like right in here particularly. Again, you can spend a lot of time. Notice the trees right in here are cracked, but we're just going to work on this part of the image to show you what it would look like. So I'm going to zoom in to this area right here. And I'm going to, this will take some time. I need to sample frequently here, so I'm going to, again, I'm on the clone stamp tool. I'll sample this area right here, come up here and click, sample again, click, sample again, click. And again, this is rather time consuming, but it's an advanced skill. And I'll just do this. And notice if I turn the eyeball off, I'll turn the eyeball on my original layer. If I turn this off, you see that it brings that back. Okay? So let's see what this looks like full screen. I'll bring it back full screen, Control 0, and this is what it looks like now. If I were to show you what it looked like before, it would look like this right here. This is the way it was before, and this is the way I've made my changes. So again, quite a difference from yellowing over time. It ripped, and oh, I need to crop as well. So that's the last thing I'll do. I'll crop this out. So I'll take my crop tool, come in here, and I'm just going to free crop. I'm not going to type anything in width and height, but I just want this area that was when I scanned the image, it took too much of the image. So I'm going to come right in here, crop that, come over, hit enter, and there it is, the final product. And one last thing that you might want to try is to add a levels adjustment. And to do that, come right up here to the levels, which is this icon right here. Again, if you hover over these, it tells you what they are. We're going to use the levels adjustment. So with this layer highlighted, I'm going to click on levels. It brings up the levels here. I'm going to drag this black dropper, and I'm going to drag it to the right until I start to get some of the contrast back. Because right here, the gal right here was kind of white, washed out, as was the dashboard here. And so what I'll do is I'll slide it back, bring some of that back in. Notice I've created a spot here, so I'm going to have to go back in and fix that. And then I can also use, because it's a mask, I can take some of it out that I don't like with black selected. I'm going to use my brush tool. I'm just going to simply come back in here, and this might be too dark right in here, so I'll just take some of that out, and it brings it back in. I'm going to undo that. Using a pretty soft brush, so the hardness is 100% is a very hard brush. If you want it more of an airbrush, you bring it back down. So I'll leave mine to about 22, see what that does. Come in here and click, and it makes the transition a little nicer. So I can do that right in there. I'm going to undo that, maybe not quite as much opacity, so I'm going to change the opacity down to about 40, so it'll take me a little longer to get back to where I need to, which is fine. So we change the opacity. That's looking pretty good because it's a little harsh. These dark areas are just a little too dark, and I want to bring them back in just a little bit. Right in here, right in here. And there you have it, from what we started with to the finished product. Oh, and I would fix this in here as well, but we know how to do that with the clone stamp tool. So we'll come in here, zoom in, and with the clone stamp tool, sample, click, making sure we're on the right level. Sample, click, sample, click. sample, click, sample, click. And I would obviously create it a little nicer, but you get the idea. There it is, the finished product.